anthropology research student from Australia, and I did my fieldwork for my dissertation at Damanhur for 12 months from 2009 to 2010. This is Quaglia, originally from the USA and a Damanhurian citizen since 2008. Damanhur Federation of Communities is located in northern Italy at the foothills of the Swiss-Italian Alps. Damanhur is described by its participants, who are also known as citizens, as a spiritual eco-community that began in 1979 when a small group of people chose to found a community united by their spiritual ideals.
Before entering into the paper, we would like to take a moment to send our gratitude to Falco, also known as Roberto Airaudi, who is the main founder of Damanhur, who passed away last Sunday. I remember the first time I went to visit Damanhur, I was at the weekly question and answer session that he consistently held for guests every Friday, even up until last Friday, a few days before his passing. At that time, years ago, I asked him, do you have any advice for people who want to start a successful community? And he said it's important to move forward and take action to realize your dream. So once you have land, once you have a group of people that want to start a community, just start clearing the land and cutting down trees and build your community. Don't hold endless consensus decision-making meetings about cutting down each tree or not. Just start doing it. And he respected trees very much, so it wasn't about that. In Damanhur, we have communication with nature spirits and with trees. But what he wanted to emphasize was to move forward in a pioneering spirit of courage and direct action. And this has enlivened the hearts of all Damanhurians and made Damanhur what it is today. An inspiration and a shared dream become reality. So thank you, Falco. Back to our paper.
Damanhur is a complex group that integrates new citizens in an intentional process of socialisation towards becoming communitarian. We see this process as a key element that has allowed Damanhur to retain what seems to be a relatively stable citizenship over time. Damanhur is a multi-generational community, not only in the diversity of biological age, but also in Damanhurian age, which is the length of time a citizen has been part of Damanhur. This longevity of personal commitment to the community creates a collective condition of sustainability. The stable community population increases the energy efficiency on a social level. With stronger group familiarity and less coming and going of its members, more energy can be harnessed and dedicated to increasing innovation with greater velocity. One of the intentions and projects of Damanhur is sustainable eco-living, with an intention to energy savings, as well as its goals for social sustainability.
During the time of Cara's fieldwork, I was joining the community as a new citizen through a program called Nuovi Damanhuriani in Italian. In English, it's the New Damanhurians program. So we pay particular attention to the process of becoming a new citizen at Damanhur in that period of 2008 to 2011. Since then, the New Citizen program has changed and is now called New Life. And this allows just about anyone who wants to have an experience as a Damanhurian to come and live in the communities as a citizen for 3 months. So this is a big change and opening from the previous process, which has been enabled by the evolution and growth of the community. New Life is a much more flexible and integrated way for potential new citizens to deeply experience what it's like to live in Damanhur. I am now what is called a Damanhur A citizen, which means living and participating in all aspects of the community on the most committed level, so on a full-time level. Cara's own process of getting involved was not an intentional program like the New Citizens, although she had a lot of parallel experiences. We were both learning not only how to be communal citizens, but also how to think and feel communal as well.
An intentional community, in the majority of cases, requires a continual input of new members to allow for growth, keep ideas fresh, expand the community's future goals, and fill gaps left when members leave. However, there is a delicate balance between these benefits of new membership and the potential for disruption. New members are needed, but they must not hamper the survival of the group as a whole. The process of integrating new members into a community has been referred to as socialisation, and Bill Metcalf describes socialisation in the intentional community context as the mechanism by which these differences are resolved in a complex process of implicit negotiation. There are strong similarities between this concept of socialisation and what Gwyn Williams describes as becoming an activist. Williams describes the process of becoming aware and then acting coherently in accordance with that new awareness. This is very much the process of becoming Damanhurian, and as we heard this morning, similar in Findhorn, and I imagine many other intentional communities. Damanhurians believe and attempt to live, consciously act out, a wide array of alternative philosophies regarding lifestyle, the self, relationships and spirituality. New citizens must become aware, educated about these philosophies before they are able to act coherently and integrate within the community. An essential part of this learning process, and indeed an approach taken towards all new initiatives during my stay, was that of learn while doing. First-hand experience or action now was the fastest way to achieve a complete socialisation within the community.
The spiritual philosophy of Damanhur is based on action. As we heard this morning, it is also very key in the spiritual approach of Findhorn. So at Damanhur, we believe that we are here as human beings with a divine spark in order to make matter divine, which is bringing the spiritual into the material. Our evolution moves forward by making a mark in the material world, creating things with our hands, whether it's tending a garden or painting murals in the temples, or even cooking Sunday lunch for our community. It's through this active process of co-creation that we create the strongest bonds between people. Sometimes the things that need to be done are just an excuse for us to be together as community groups and connect with each other, and it doesn't really matter what we're doing. Sometimes this thread of connectedness is quite visible, like a group of people passing firewood from hand to hand. There's this visible chain of connection and energy and passing from one to another. Collective art making is also highly valued for this reason, more than the individual artist doing his or her own work and being recognized for it. Community art is an opportunity to strengthen the connections amongst us all and the social alchemy of creating things together.
Damanhur's New Citizenship Program is a model of socialisation that intentionally aims to allow for the kind of experiences that would prepare individuals for life as a communitarian. The scholar Gwyn Williams also described a similar process as consciousness raising, where a group of alter globalisation activists in southern France conceive that a person is a being that constantly evolves. Similarly, Damanhurians believe that participating in a community, and particularly communal living, assists in the ongoing evolution of the individual. It stands to reason then that individuals who have already participated in communal living, like those full-time residents of Damanhur, would have achieved a certain level of evolution beyond the individuals who have yet to have had that experience. From a certain perspective, it's like the new citizens are playing catch-up.
Embracing constant inner evolution in a structured way was really helpful for me to integrate as a new citizen. This is one of the main points of focus in Damanhur, to grow beyond our limitations and character flaws and develop and express our talents. I engaged in this practice as a new citizen, and the process involves focusing on practical points and actualizing them, receiving regular feedback from a chosen person within the community. So the points may focus on containing extremes of behavior and personality that prevent me from being at my best, for example, being too aggressive or being too timid, and that prevent me from integrating harmoniously with others. So collectively doing this practice helps us to all raise our awareness of ourselves and also create harmony within the community and our relationships. And this process may also exalt the potential excellencies that I have. And sometimes it's from the mirror of other people that I see what my greatest skills are. Sometimes we don't even recognize it from within ourselves. So for instance, one of my first points of attention was to give space to my artistic and creative expression, which is often overshadowed by the part of me, as I'm a Virgo, that loves to work and accomplish everyday tasks. So the result of doing this was that I started doing creative writing and sharing it with the community and really receiving beautiful feedback from people who felt connected, who felt the emotion in the writing I was doing. And I've also given space to painting, to singing, to dancing in various creative contexts within Damanhur. So this process has given me new tools to approach intimidating situations in a new way and to courageously embrace an opportunity for growth.
A new citizen described the process of socialisation in this way. It's like living communally peels away the layers of yourself and slowly you get deeper, although it can be painful. Living communally reveals aspects of someone's personality that may not have been consciously realised before. This can be as basic as not cleaning the toilet properly, or to more fundamental personal conditions like talking too much when anxious or nervous. These aspects become recognised by the individual because it is not just one or two other people alerting them to their condition. Rather, it might easily be tens or even 100 people identifying the same thing. One of the biggest challenges faced by new citizens was the process of replacing their imagined view of living in community with the reality that was Damanhur. The gap between the ideal and the real was something Damanhur attempted to close through its mechanisms of socialisation. Damanhur is far from paradise was a phrase I heard many times, emphasised mostly for the benefit of those who had expressed an interest in joining.
Living communally involves a precarious balance between the individual and communal elements of self. At Damanhur, this is often referred to as the difference between being motivated by ideals and personal interests. It's a question we all ask ourselves as citizens, if our dedication to the core spiritual ideals and goals of the community are being diluted by personal life concerns, whether it's family, work, relationships, possessions, going on vacation. So these are all areas of life that are, of course, important for everyone to cultivate and serve, though it's a question of equilibrium in the priorities. The intention of building a community like Damanhur is to create a collective context where large-scale missions and dreams can be realized in a community in tandem with our own individual missions and dreams. So if the personal desires and comforts gain priority over the community ideals and visions, then there's the risk of the community not being distinguishable from everyday society and not being sustainable.
It is a challenging process, where one must prioritise the needs to contribute to the community along with the other equally important elements of individuals' daily life. Although some of the demands of life are lessened through sharing with others, e.g. you might not have to go food shopping every week, as it's likely someone else might have this role, there are, at least at first, many new elements that need to be negotiated. Each individual citizen not only has specific commitments to their nucleo, the smaller residential communities that make up the Federation, but also the larger community of Damanhur. An example of the adjustments some citizens needed to make was in relation to the division of household responsibilities among participants. There seemed to be a sense among some new citizens that they needed to ensure that any tasks were divided and accounted for equally, much like how one is treated in paid employment. Rather, it was communicated to me that participants needed to treat household chores like one would treat chores in one's own home. They needed to be done and there was no accounting. A trust that each would contribute equitably had to be built among the participants, and the approach to chores needed to become one of wanting to contribute, rather than there being a singular focus on the equitable division of the chores. This point was demonstrated to me very early when I was being introduced to some work I was to do in exchange for lodging. Here we'll recite a small dialogue from my field diary.
Cara, could you do some weed whacking?
Do you mean whippersnipping?
Whippersnipping? Here, I'll show you.
We walk towards the shed and sure enough, Billy extracts a whippersnipper from the numerous garden tools to be found there. She then proceeds to point out the areas that need to be weed whacked, and I diligently follow, trying to memorise all her instructions. At one point, I noticed that all the clipped grass from a previous weed whacking episode had been left where it had been clipped, leading me to ask, do I have to leave the grass where I cut it?
No, it would be good if you could rake it up for the compost.
Oh, okay, because I see that it has been left here.
Oh, well, that's probably because the last person didn't have time to clean it up.
The response to my final question was quick and without thought. There was no sense of dissatisfaction with the incomplete job performed by the previous whippersnipper. The assumption gave the person benefit of the doubt. At the time, this response demonstrated to me a sense of understanding among the participants in this nucleo regarding the time constraints of others.
Trust is built over time in communities by demonstrating continuity and constancy to one another despite the ups and downs of life, and consequent level of community participation. The strength of a community group as a collective whole can contain and balance the individual highs and lows that fluctuate over time. For example, if a Damanhurian citizen goes through a period of pregnancy or debilitating illness or unemployment, they receive support and help from their nucleo community and the wider community. This kind of support is built into the system of community solidarity, acknowledging that each one of us at some point might be moving through some situation of need before becoming fully active and contributing again. New citizens will eventually cycle through both the giving and receiving role of this solidarity. For example, playing the role of caregiver to others who are sick and bedridden, as well as being the person lying in bed sick, being assisted by for our needs by others.
Building a community of individuals who feel and contribute to a feeling of esprit de corps in Damanhur is a learned process. The new citizens were learning how to consider others, even if they weren't biologically related, and treat them in accordance with how Damanhurians treat their communal family. Individuals needed to understand not only the current structure and philosophy lived by Damanhurians, but also had to adapt their attitudes directly in accordance with the other people they were living with. By the time a new citizen commits to full Damanhurian citizenship, they have already begun a socialisation process of becoming communitarian. In particular for Damanhur, they learn the importance of translating spiritual ideals into action. New citizens also commit to a process of personal evolution, often overcoming the discomfort of seeing their own points of growth mirrored back to them by a myriad of other citizens. Balancing one's individual perspectives, needs and desires with the communal structures, goals and projects is a delicate process of learning. New citizens found that if they were able to do so, they could then receive the benefit of the solidarity and trust of communal living. This demonstration of mutual commitment during the process of entering into a community seems to increase overall sustainability, both through longevity of community membership and the social efficiency resulting from a stable citizen base.